Okay, College Algebra 5.8, and this is the C video, and we are on example number 3, and you'll notice the thing that's different here with this one is our numerator is larger than the denominator. So what we're going to do is when you have a numerator whose degree is larger than the degree of the denominator, it ends up being kind of like, what do you do when you have a number that's larger than the denominator and you want to change it to a mixed fraction? You divide, right? Okay? We're going to do the exact same thing with this. We're going to divide. And what we're going to do is 16 over thirds is the same as 5 and 1/3. So by dividing this, we're going to find an expression here, and then what we're going to do is we are going to decompose this part right here, the fraction part here, because we're decomposing fractions. We're not decomposing whole numbers. So we can divide, find this part, and kind of move it aside and save it for later and decompose just the remainder. So that's what we're going to do for this example. Okay, so there I wrote it. Remember, this has a 3, 2, no x, so we had to put a 0x here. So we've got this. So when we divide it, and I'm not going to do the whole division thing, you should know how to do this, we get 2x plus 3 with a remainder of 8x minus 4. So remember, that is going to go over that. So we get as the expression that we're going to decompose 2x plus 3 plus 8x minus 4 over 3x squared minus 2x minus 1. This is what we're going to decompose. Actually, just this. This here doesn't need to be decomposed. This is part of the answer. We're going to put it aside and add it later. We're just going to decompose that right there. Okay? So that's what we're going to do. That's when you divide it. When the numerator's degree is higher than the denominator's, you divide, and then guess what happens? Always, 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 the numerator will become less than the degree of the denominator, which is what we want. All right, so let's kind of move some stuff over here, and this is the only part we're going to consider at this point. Well, this part right here. All right, so let's take 8x minus 4, and let's factor this down to 3x plus 1 times x minus 1. Okay, so let me go over this again. Remember, when you factor this down, you take this times this and get negative 3. Find two numbers multiplied that give you negative 3, added give you negative 2. So we have 3x squared. Okay, so we get 3x squared minus 3x plus 1, because these two give me my negative 2x minus 1. And then we group, factor out a 3x, and I'm left with an x minus 1. I've got a 1 out there, x minus 1. So I have 3x plus 1, x minus 1. And that's what I have there. So again, that's old Algebra 2 stuff that should be like, oh my gosh, this is so easy, why am I doing this? Okay, so that gives us that. So now what we're going to do is we're going to decompose this fraction that we have here. So that gives me a over 3x plus 1 plus b over x minus 1. Okay, and remember, find common denominators. So we've got an a times x minus 1 over 3x plus 1 times x minus 1 plus b times 3x plus 1 over 3x plus 1 over x minus 1. Okay, since our denominators are now the same, we can write this as a times x minus 1 plus b times 3x plus 1 all over, and because these denominators are the same as these, I can say that 8x minus 4 equals this here. And so that's what I'm going to write next. And I'm going to move everything else out of my way so that I can do what I need to do. There. Now we're just going to look at that. So again, x minus 1 equals 0, so x equals 1. So that's what I'm going to put in here. So let's put a 1 in there for x. Okay, that goes away. So 4 equals 4b, so b equals 1. Okay, so I need to remember that. B equals 1. Okay, so that was the first part. That was setting x equal to 1 there, looking at x minus 1. Now we're going to look at 3x plus 1. So x equals negative 1/3. So we're going to put that in. Okay, that will disappear. And that gives me negative 8/3. I'm going to do a couple steps here at once. Change negative 4 to 12/3. A times negative 1/3 minus 3/3. Alright, that gives me negative 20/3 equals A times negative 1 minus 3, negative 4/3. Invert and multiply. Okay, those cancel, gives me a positive 5, because this is a negative and this is a negative, giving me a positive. 20 over 4 is 5. So A equals 5. So there, and I found that. So my problem is 5 over 3x plus 1 plus 1 over x minus 1. That is my decomposition. And I need to remember to add, and I forget to do this, my 2x plus 3 from when I divided that out way at the beginning. Okay, so let's see if I can get rid of a bunch of this stuff and maybe bring up some stuff that we did here. Not what I want, not what I want. I may not be able to find it all. Yeah, there was my division. There's where I got my 2x plus 3 there that I have in my final answer that I forgot to put on there. Okay, so there's my original, and my decomposition was my 5 over 3x plus 1 plus 1 over x minus 1, and then my 2x plus 3. So that ends up being my answer for example 3. And we will continue with example 4 in 5.8D.